you the objective of today's session mainly. The objective of today's session is actually to help you plan your next 30-35 odd days leading up to CAT. Uh, you have to understand that these 30-35 odd days are very, very crucial because once the exam season starts, starts with CAT, followed by SNAP 2 attempts and MAT 2 attempts. ZAT will come in the first week of January. In the meantime, CAT results will also come out. So with all together, I think this is the time where you study, because after that you don't really have time to study. You only have time to write exams. Okay, prepare for exams and write exams and give mocks and etc. So what I plan to do is I plan to talk about the next 30-40 days or so and try to understand what we have as a situation, and based on that we will take a call as to how do we match with that. Okay, so yeah, so this is the first actual important question that are you ready for CAT 2024, and if you are not ready, what do I need to do in the next few days to make sure that we are ready? Okay, let's start by actually revising and understanding what are the learnings from so many previous years of CAT. Okay, uh, some things. So while people say that CAT changes every year, there are some things which never change. One of them being change. Okay, so therefore one thing that is 100% sure is the paper is and will remain unpredictable. Okay, I don't think this is going to change in this year's paper also. It will remain unpredictable in terms of difficulty level. It will remain unpredictable in terms of what is an absolute good score. Please remember, we know in terms of percentile, but not in terms of percentage or absolute score. uh, while we know that there are 3 sections and it will be a 2-hour paper and 40 minutes each section, we still cannot with guarantee say that the paper will still have the same number of questions per section as last year. The breakup will be same as last year and etc. Till the time we actually don't see the first slot paper on the day of CAT. Okay, one thing that is very clear about CAT is that they never come out with 100% exact structure of the paper in terms of number of questions in each section or something like that. That if they come out with, it will be very good. It will be slightly predictable for students, but yeah, most of the time the only thing that we get to know is it is a 3 section paper, 40 minutes each section, and there will be certain number of questions in each section. Okay, so one thing that you need to prepare as a mindset is, however how much you prepare, on the day of CAT it will be something different. Okay, you cannot be prepared 100% for an exam like CAT, where almost 3.5 lakh people have applied and not less than 3 lakh people will write the exam. Okay, and given the amount of competition, given the diversity in the number of applicants, given the type of students who will be writing the exam, which will be taking into account students from IITs, the student from the best of the commerce and economics college India, like Sriram College of Commerce, Loyola, or the Hindu College, okay, or St. Xavier's Kolkata. So therefore, uh, to give you a very wide perspective, this is an exam where the most elite brains of India will write this exam. Okay, so the paper will remain unpredictable. This is something which you will need to deal with. How do we deal with that? I'll just come in the subsequent slides. But yeah, one thing for sure, that you will need to be ready to see some surprise in the paper, whether it is a higher difficulty level or a lower difficulty level. uh, Understanding how much should I attempt in that section, should I stop after this or should I keep on going, and etc. That is something which will not be able to predict before CAT. All these things are actually after the exam is over. Okay, now, another thing that I always want to focus on is whether the type of questions will remain same. For example, I understand that somebody might say that, okay, what is going to change in reading comprehension? Reading comprehension will still be a passage followed by questions. I agree, but what I can also tell you is that CAT has experimented in terms of the type of questions that has come. For example, uh, around 6 years back, they started something called type in the answer, wherein there were no options given. You have to type down the answer, and they said that there is no negative marking for it. That was a new type of question. Similarly, data sufficiency has not come in for a long time. I will not be surprised if data sufficiency comes back this year, okay, or for that matter any new type of question. Questions with 5 options, questions with multiple type of uh, multiple answers correct instead of just one answer correct, okay. All these experiments have been tried and tested, and therefore if you ask me, will CAT have new type of questions, the answer is again I don't know. You should be ready for it. CAT has tried out new things in every alternate year or the third year or something, and therefore since COVID, since the paper has been more or less predictable, it has been more or less same in at least type of structure. I will not be surprised if the paper throws out some new type of questions which has been unheard of or is unprecedented. Now, the second thing that you need to understand, which you might have understood by now if you have been preparing for the paper, is it's a thinking paper. Okay. uh, all doubts of whether CAT can be cleared by writing down some formula or practicing some fixed type of questions and getting into some fixed type of structures or answers was thrown out of the window in CAT 23. Anybody who has given CAT 23 will know that the paper, at least by the look of it, looked very, very difficult. Okay. And unless and until you are a thinker, unless and until you are an how do I say, analytical thinker, you will not be able to score high in a paper like CAT 2023. We will discuss the different types of experiments that CAT has done over the years in our next sessions. But having said that, uh, CAT 23 for me also was a surprise, because the type of questions that came, at least by the first look of it, looked very, very difficult and undoable. But the moment I cooled down a little bit, I absorbed the shock, and I became comfortable with the idea that okay, whatever has come for everybody, and therefore let's go ahead with it. It did not really look that difficult after that. Okay, so therefore uh, it is a thinking paper. You need to cool down, you have to absorb the shock if any. Okay, you have to start thinking in terms of application of formula rather than a direct execution of the formula, if I may use the word. Okay, it is not a road based paper. It cannot be cleared by writing down some formula without knowing where and how to use, or even more some exceptions of those formulas and rules. Okay, please remember, CAT is a paper which is written by approximately 3 lakh people, whereas the total number of seats in IIMs, and I'm talking about the IIMs just because it is the governing body, will not be more than 20 to 25,000. Okay, so at the end of the day, please understand that IIMs have the responsibility to call not more than 30,000 people. Okay, out of 3 lakh people. So they had to have something in the paper where the defined syllabus is that of class 10, because everybody will write the paper. So they cannot be biased towards an engineer, or cannot be biased towards a commerce student or a science student or something like that. So they have to keep that limit of knowledge level till class 10. But the attitude and the aptitude that is required will be that of a graduate. Okay, so it's a thinking paper, not a road based paper. Unless and until you are actually understanding the implications of the formula, you will not be able to clear the paper well. The other most important thing is accuracy is very, very important, as important as speed. It looks like a speed test. Okay, as Indians, right from our childhood, we have been very accustomed to speed test, because everything is an entrance exam. You wrote IIT JEE, you wrote CUET, you wrote CBSE, and all of them, however the paper they were, we are always running against a clock. Okay, Now, in this paper, because there is high negative marking of 0.25 per question, it is very, very clear that accuracy will play as important a role as number of attempts. Okay. High attempts, low accuracy is not a good news, because ultimately your marks will fall. Okay. So there is a high chance person with low attempts and high accuracy scores more than the number of than that person who's does lot of attempts, but is left with around 30 to 40% accuracy. Okay, not a good sign at all. In fact, the thing that is in your control, if you have not already improved your speed yet, the thing that is in your control is accuracy. Speed should come organically. Speed should come when you practice continuously. Accuracy is something which you can control. Okay, accuracy is something which uh, you know uh, to get the question correct, you need to read it slow, you need to solve, you need to make sure that the calculations are correct, you need to be conscious about it. This is something which is definitely in your control. Now, whether that also comes with speed, my guess is speed will come organically if you are practicing mock cats, if you are consciously also trying shortcut methods, if you're also trying elimination of options, if you're also trying putting the options backward into the equations and etc. So therefore, if you have not tried that, my very clear suggestion will be, first bring accuracy, bring approximately 75 to 80% accuracy. This will be the first target if you have not already brought that, and only then bring speed. Okay, let speed come automatically. The more you practice, the more you become comfortable with topics, the more you become comfortable with the type of question that comes. Okay, the more speed will come. Think it this way: if you already know a type of question that you see on the screen, then your thinking time will be less, then your analytical time will be less. Okay, you know how to proceed, which will reduce your time. However, there should not be any compromise on accuracy. Okay, in fact, let me play the devil's advocate. I will go ahead and say that if your accuracy has not come up to at least 75%, you should not try to attempt more than 30 to 40% of the paper. Okay, first bring that accuracy, get the questions correct, only then you try to fight over speed, and not before that. Okay, and therefore, what are the things that you need to keep in mind for the last 1 month? Okay, first of all, don't bunk or give up of any chapter or concept which you think is difficult. Now, for example, lot of students come to me and ask that, sir, can I just dump geometry, or can I just dump permutation combination probability, because I just don't get the heck of at least 50% of the questions. Now, I understand that you are not being able to do 50% of the questions completely with you, but what you need to look at it is as a glass half full. The rest of the 50% of the questions you're able to do. CAT is not only about tough questions. There will be enough number of easy questions in CAT. Now think it this way. If an easy question comes from geometry, if an easy questions come from permutation combination probability, would you like to really give up on that? I suggest don't. Okay. And therefore, at least learn and practice easy questions from every chapter. Okay, there'll be some chapter. Okay, you cannot say all my chapters are weak, that may not help. Okay, but at least those chapters which you have shortlisted as these are in your control, there you do the whole part of it, revise all the concepts, do as many questions as possible. But some chapters where your accuracy level has been low, where your concepts are weak, where your number of questions most of the time has gone wrong, at least practice level 1 difficulty level from those. Right, the concept is very, very clear that you know you should be able to do easy questions if they come from these chapters. Okay, this is the first and the most important requirement. Okay, there is nothing called 100% prepared. Okay, lot of people are not giving mocks because they say that only when I'll be completing my syllabus and only when I'll be uh, fairly and confidently prepared, I'll give mocks. That is wrong. Okay, please start giving mocks. Okay, like an exam, please sit in front of the computer 2 hours at a stretch and give a mock. Please remember, giving cat is not only about solving questions, it is also about maintaining that concentration and posture and attention for those next 2 hours. Okay, if you don't practice that, however prepared you are with your quant, English, or DI, on that day of cat, you will struggle to keep your concentration for 2 hours. Okay, giving mock cats is not only to check your knowledge. Giving mock cat is also to practice that tension, that countdown clock, that exam pressure, that peer sitting beside you, and so on. That is what makes you prepared as well. Okay, so therefore, don't postpone writing mocks any further. That experience of writing mock in an exam situation, in an exam scenario, will be very, very important. I will go ahead and say something very interesting. I'm going ahead and saying that in next few days, you're also going to get your admit card, and you know which slot you are going to get. The moment you get your admit card, give all your marks in that time slot only. Okay, that will help you to get accustomed to that weather, that light, that ambience, that everything. If that timing is the evening time slot, you go and give your marks in that evening time slot. That's how you play. Okay, so if you have a morning time slot from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock, you give all your marks subsequently from 9 o'clock to 11. Okay, the more you write mocks in that time slot, the more you will become comfortable with sitting in front of a computer at that period of time for those 2 hours. Okay, so therefore, there is nothing called 100% preparation. Uh, you will never be 100% prepared even for CAT 2030. Forget about CAT 2024. Okay, start giving mocks, because even if you are targeting something called a 99 percentile preparation, you need to start analyzing the mocks. I'll just come to that in the subsequent slide. But yes, mocks are very, very important. Next 1 month, you should be giving at least 8 to 10 mocks. Okay, now is the time wherein you don't learn concepts from books and then do questions. I will go the other way around. Okay, uh, assuming that for the last 3, 4, 5 months you have been preparing, yes, you now learn the concept from the questions. It is the other way around. You do a question, you try to solve it, you see whether you can solve it. If you could not solve it, you see the solution, you learn the concept. Okay, not the other way around, not first reading the theory and then applying it on the questions. That timing is gone. If you go with that style, uh, you will not be able to uh, with a mental satisfaction, you will not be able to complete the syllabus within the next 30 days. Okay, so if you want to revise the concepts, if you want to reinforce the concepts, then it should be the other way around. I strongly recommend that you should do it mock based. Okay, however, if you think that no, no, sir, I want to revise the concept of numbers, or if I want to revise the concept of reading in reading comprehension, or the important concepts of critical reasoning, what is strengthening, what is weakening, then you can also do it through sectional tests. Okay, please understand, as a teacher, the last 1 month I will always prioritize full length mocks over sectional tests. Okay, however, it is not every day that you will be writing mocks. I understand completely, it is not suggested either. As I said, I suggest around 8 to 10 mocks over the next 4 weeks, which will mean that not more than two mocks, not more than 2 to 3 mocks in a week. I would strongly recommend that on the rest of the days, whenever you have free time, you can also do it with sectional tests and etc. uh, it is very, very important for the last 1 month to as much possible retain and reinforce. So whatever you learn, you retain, make notes, so that whenever you have free time, you just go through the pages of your notebook and keep on reinforcing whatever you have already learned. Okay, it is very, very important that you retain and reinforce as much as possible. Now, I don't want to give a quantification. Okay, for some people it can be 30%, for some people it can be 70%. Okay, However, I would strongly recommend that as much as possible to make notes. Okay, whenever you learn a new concept, make sure you take notes. Okay. Now, let me explain it to you by a example of a question. Uh, what do I mean by making notes? Okay, this is a typical question that you might see in CAD. Okay, this is the question that came in a previous CAD. Okay, it talked about that P is a prime number such that P plus 4 as well as P plus 14 both are prime numbers. Okay, how many such P's exist? That was the question. How many such P's such that P plus 4 as well as P plus 14 are also prime? Okay, now I will typically take up this question. If I don't know, I will do trial and error. For example, I will try with the first number 2. Now the moment I see 2, I see that when I take 2, I see that P is 2, but 2 plus 4 is 6, and therefore it is no longer prime, and therefore 2 does not satisfy. I take up 3, let's say 3 is prime. Okay, then 3 plus 4, 7 is also prime. 3 plus 14, 17 is also prime. So therefore it seems that 3 satisfies the relationship that if P is prime, then P plus 4 is also prime, and P plus 14 is also prime. Okay, now 3 satisfied. Okay, I try it out with 5. So I take 5. I said P plus 4 is 9, so does not satisfy anymore. Okay, I take 7, 7, 11, 21 is not prime, so 7 does not satisfy the relationship, and so on. Now after I do a little bit of trial and error, you will tend to understand that 3 perhaps is the only number which satisfies this relationship. No other prime number exists such that P plus 4 as well as P plus 14 are also prime. Okay, now this is an interesting thing, and therefore you mark the answer as okay, there is only one such prime number. Okay, but then you are not 100% sure, because you never know that maybe there is some prime number P in 500s, let's say, maybe somewhere around you never know, 523 or something like that, which might be satisfying that, because our process is purely based on trial and error. Now you mark that you got it right. What happens is, when you see that question again, you don't read the explanation to that question. Now, if it is a part of a mock test, you gave that, you got the question right, you don't see the solution. If you would have seen the solution, you would have known that any prime number greater than 3 satisfy the condition that it is either of the form 6k plus 1 or of the form 6k minus 1. All prime numbers apart from 2 and 3. So the moment you go beyond 2 and 3, every prime number satisfies this condition that they are of the form 6k plus 1 or 6k minus 1, which will mean that if the number is of the form 6k plus 1, then P plus 14 becomes 6k plus 15, which is clearly divisible by 3, will not be prime. Similarly, if it is of the form 6k minus 1, this quantity will become 6k plus 3, which is again divisible by 3, and therefore will no longer be prime number. Now, this is the concept. Okay, which you need to reinforce, you need to learn, you need to note it down somewhere. From this question, I get to know that any prime number greater than 3 is of the form 6k plus 1 or 6k minus 1. If you miss out on that, then you are actually really missing out on a concept, because this question may not repeat, but a question utilizing that concept, a question which uses this concept to build a newer concept, might actually come, and you don't know. So what I strongly urge you to do is that even if you get a question right by trial and error, don't miss out on the concept. See the solution, read the concept, note down the concept somewhere, and that is exactly what I mean. Say you learn the concept from the Okay. Now, when you read a book, when you refer to any CAT preparation book, you will see that concept. You will see some questions based on that concept. That would have been a good strategy had we been sitting in the month of May, June, July, August. Okay. Right now, we are 1 month away from CAT. And there is no way you can study exhaustively what will come in CAT, because at the end of the day, CAT does not have a syllabus. And therefore, we should now learn from doing questions, and then side by side also learn the concept. Because in that way, we are serving both the purposes. We are practicing a question, we are doing it by maybe an alternative method. Even if you don't know the theory, once you know the theory, learn the theory, note down the theory, reinforce the theory, so that even if this theory comes in some other question, you will be ready to do. Okay, now this is exactly what I am uh, suggesting for every CAT aspirant who is going to write CAT on 24th of November. Okay, that you need to learn concepts. Time for learning all the concepts and then doing questions is gone. We go the other way around. We practice a lot of questions, preferably by writing full length mocks. Okay, please remember, mocks also are study material. Lot of people think that give us study material. I always say mocks are the best study material. Okay, because when you write mock, you get an exam pressure, you get the exam environment, you practice sitting against a countdown clock, and you also get a collection of questions with detailed solutions, and therefore you also the theory. Okay, so in the month of October, it is very, very important that you reverse your learning process and learn from questions and giving tests, rather than learning the theory and then doing the questions. Okay, not a good idea at all. Okay, and therefore, uh, my strong recommendation will be, over the next 3 to 4 weeks, you have to give at least 8 to 10 full length mocks minimum. Okay, which will practically mean approximately 2 to 3 mocks per week. You have 7 days, write mocks on alternate days. In the gap alternate days, okay, if you are writing in the evening, that is, I would strongly recommend that अगर आप 2 घंटे का पेपर दे रहे हैं, तब तो मॉक का एनालिसिस उसी दिन होना चाहिए, because that is fresh on your mind. But then, if you are writing it with a coaching institute, the analysis generally comes once the window is over, so maybe in a day or two or something like that. But make sure, for every 2 hour mock, you need to spend at least to 6 to 7 hours on that mock to analyze. Now, what do you analyze? First of all, you solve all the questions once again, including the ones you could solve and the ones you could not solve. Okay. Now, what do you look for the questions you could solve? You understand the theory that was used, whether you knew the theory or whether you did it by some alternative method. If it was done by some alternative method, fantastic. But you should also know the theory. You might be in a lookout for any other alternative method that the solution has suggested. For the questions which you could not solve, you should understand why you could not solve. Was it tough, easy, difficult? What was the theory behind it? Was it worth attempting, because the question could have been very tough, and therefore the question setter itself might be suggesting that this might be one type of question which you should skip, because the question required enormous amount of calculation and thus would have guzzled your time. Okay, so therefore questions you should solve. For the solution, for the questions which you could not solve, definitely see the solutions. This will help you to decide where is the problem. Is it the lack of knowledge? Is it a lack of tenacity? Is it lack of time management? Whatever you are lacking, that solution should be able to tell you. If you don't understand the solution at all, and if you can get help of an expert, you should definitely go for doubt clearing, understand the concept. uh, don't worry about whether the question was long or short, but at least that concept you should know. Again, repeating from whatever I said in the last slide, remember, you should know the concept, because you never know whether this question will come or a easier version will come. So if you know the concept, If an easier question comes from that concept, you should be able to do. Maybe this specific question you are not doing because it is long. Okay, but at least you should know the concept so that you can utilize that concept if there is an easier question that comes in the paper. Okay, concepts are mandatory. Okay, learning the concepts are mandatory. Whether you remember that specific question or not, learning the concept is definitely mandatory. Okay, uh, check the easy, medium, difficult wala analysis that is there in your mocks. Okay, every mock, every coaching institute nowadays gives a very detailed analysis of the mocks that you give. They give you in fact 5 difficulty levels: very easy, easy, medium, difficult, very difficult. Okay, check out for matches and mismatches. Are you doing those questions which are easy to medium, or are you getting attracted to very difficult or difficult questions which is guzzling up your time? That may be the reason why your attempts are very, very less. Okay. Similarly, if there is a match, what is your accuracy rate in these questions? Okay. Are you being too casual with easy questions and therefore you are losing out on marks because they're going wrong? Okay. Those detailed analysis, remember, I insist on two things. One, solve all the questions again, like it is like mandatory. Okay. You need to solve all the questions again, all of it. Okay, if there are 60 questions in the paper, all of it. If there are 40 questions in the paper, all of it. Okay, no questions asked. Okay, all the questions in the paper you are supposed to solve. Okay, and not only solving it, as I said, note down the concept, check the EMD analysis. EMD means easy, medium, difficult, the difficulty level range that we talk about, and do the analysis of match, mismatch. How many questions which others also did, you also could do. How many questions which others did very easily, taking very less amount of time, but you took a longer amount of time, and what is the reason for it? Okay, this is a very, very important analysis to do, that how much time you are taking versus how much time others are taking. This can be not only in quant but also in DI, as well as things like reading comprehension, how much time you are uh, taking in reading the passage. Just for example, when you are doing analysis of RC, just check how much time you are spending on the first question of any RC, because that includes the reading time of the passage. Okay, that will give you a very clear indication about what is the average reading speed of people who are writing CAT and what is your reading speed in the whole process. Okay, so make sure that this analysis is done. Spend at least 1.5 2 hours of time aram say per section, okay, to do that detailed analysis of the paper. Okay, trust me, if you do that well, you could not have completed a detailed analysis of a mock in less than 6 to 7 hours. Okay, if you're doing less than that, then you are not doing the complete analysis. Okay, you have to have a notebook. You need to write down the concepts that you learn. You need to note down the questions of where there is a mismatch in EMD analysis and your attempts, the timing, the average timings in your attempts, your accuracy rate where others are getting it right and you are getting it wrong, and then rectifying the mistakes in the next one. Okay, this is very, very important. Keep an eye on accuracy versus attempts. Okay, remember, I again repeat and reiterate, accuracy is the priority, not attempts. Okay, let number of attempts come automatically. Even if you have some heartbreak during the exam saying that my number of attempts are going less, touch your heart, say all is well. I am a well prepared student. I have prepared enough to the best of my abilities, and therefore if I am attempting less, that means the world is attempting less. Okay, however, even if you are not that case, even if you are saying no, I am not one of the best prepared students, I have not prepared well at all, please don't play with accuracy. Please don't go berserk on attempts. At least get that marks which you deserve to get. Okay, if you have got 5 questions right and 5 questions wrong, please understand that it is practically equivalent of getting 2 questions to 3 questions right. Okay, there is a high chance that a person who is doing just 4 attempts will get all the 4 questions right, whereas a person who is doing 10 attempts and 5 of them are wrong, you are landing up with a score lesser than that. What is the use? Okay, so a fundamental thing that I am trying to build upon here is attempts is not the priority for a CAT aspirant student. Yes, you will need a certain number of attempts on that day. uh, Let it grow automatically, let your natural speed come into effect as you practice. That is not your first priority. Let it come organically as you proceed. You should keep an eye on accuracy. Anything less than 75% accuracy is bad. Anything less than 75% accuracy, I'm telling you upfront on your face, is a in Gen Z language, a red flag. Okay, you need to take care of it very, very quickly. 75% or less is worrisome in terms of accuracy, which will mean that including the theta questions, whatever number of questions you have attempted, if more than one fourth of them are wrong, you are looking at a danger point. Okay, you are looking at a danger point. Scores will come down drastically. You will miss out on the cutoffs. Okay, so therefore, and that cannot be compensated by attempts. Okay, for example, if attempting 15 questions you are getting 8 wrong, attempting 20 questions you will not get 8 wrong. Attempting 20 questions you will get 18 wrong, because the more you attempt, the more you are fighting against time, the more your attention dilutes, and the lesser will be the accuracy rate. Okay, so do not try to compensate accuracy rate with attempts. Not a good idea at all. Keep an eye on accuracy rate to be at least 75%. That is your first priority. Once you achieve that, side by side as you practice, okay, you build up on your speed, whether it is your reading speed, your calculation speed, uh, your ability to eliminate options and etc. That is something that should come organically, consciously, and not really you plan by going more attempts and doing all of them wrong. Okay, now, therefore, it is easy to give up, because if you are starting with the mocks and you are not getting very high percentiles of 99s or 98s, it is very easy to give up. Last 1 month can be tough, especially when mock scores are volatile. You will see lot of sine curves. Someday your percentile goes plus 90. Sometimes it comes down to 40. It is very, very difficult to keep up the motivation and etc. But there is lot of good news. Okay, now the good news is that please understand that lot of people, more than 50% of the people, that is 1.5 lakh people, write CAT unprepared. Okay, please understand, IIMs are not the only institutes in India. There are lots and lots of institutes in India where even 40 percentile or 50 percentile is acceptable. Okay, so therefore lot of people write CAT unprepared, and therefore even if you are scoring slightly lower in mocks from a coaching institute or from campussutra.com or any website, the good news is that lot of people will go below you without any additional effort from your side. Okay, you don't have to worry about that much. Okay, so don't get unduly worried about that. uh, आपके जो परसेंटाइल है, देयर इज अ हाई चांस दैट जो भी आपका रेगुलर परसेंटाइल है वो आराम से 10-15 परसेंटाइल बूस्ट अप होगा ही होगा. ठीक है, सी आई विल आल्सो राइट कैट. ओके, एंड आई एक्चुअली am not going to write cat to get into an IIM. My MBA is done. Okay, lot of coaching institute teachers will write cat. Lot of students who might have started their preparation today will write cat. Okay, lot of people who are thinking to write cat next year only, but is eligible for this year and therefore is thinking let's give a try in their final year, will write cat. Okay, so therefore the good news is that you are not out yet. Okay, keep up the motivation high. uh, on the day of cat, at least 7 to 10% of the people lose their nerves. Even if they were scoring high in the paper, they go down. So therefore the test is not really of whether we will be able to score high on that day. The test is whether we will be able to survive the initial shock, survive the moments of frustration, uh, get prepared with the time management part of it, and not lose your nerves on that day. Okay, uh, there'll be a lot of churning based on time slot, center, infra, especially for the morning guys. If you're traveling from far off, and I'll talk about those last minute jitters in the coming sessions. But yeah, uh, those who have the morning 9 o'clock slot, you'll have to report at 7 o'clock in the morning. If you're traveling from far off, maybe you'll have to sleep less, start at 4 o'clock in the morning. Uh, that is going to destroy your cat. Okay, you cannot write cat, with half sleep or something like that. Uh, if you have such a situation, then you obviously should, you know, take up a hotel close to the exam center one day before, sleep well, and then only write cat. But we'll come back to that later on the later sessions. But yeah, I mean, lot of chanting will happen based on the time slot, center, infra, and so on. Okay, and therefore, what is your target? A good score in mocks to get into IIMs till as late as, let's say, second week of November is approximately 75 to 80%. Okay, if you have been able to stabilize 75 to 80 percentile by 15th of November, there is an extremely good chance you will get into one of the top 20 institutes in India, including some of the best IIMs. Okay, now whether this will lead you to 95 percentile or 99.9 percentile will be decided on 24th of November. I am not going to give you an astrological prediction. Okay, I am giving you what is a statistical forecasting, that if you are able to stabilize 75 to 80 percentile by 15th of November, there is an extremely high chance that you should be able to get above 95 percentile in the real one, in the real cat. Okay, it is not very difficult at all. Okay, so your target should be that in every mock you should be able to score approximately 75 to 80 percentile. You are getting more than that, fantastic. Okay, you are absolutely on the right path. But if you are right now at 60 percentile and you find out that the marks are getting guzzled out by uh, accuracy, or the marks are getting guzzled out by low attempts or some specific chapter or something like that, take curative actions so that you reach to approximately 75 to 80 percentile in the mocks by about approximately 15th of November. Okay, that should give you enough reason uh, to apply to the best of the business schools in India, and take it with fair amount of confidence from my side that you should be able to score above 95 percentile in the real cat. Okay, uh, and therefore my last few words that I wanted to talk about, uh, this last leg is very very important. Make sure that there is nothing called weak section. Okay, uh, it is only strong sections. So therefore, even if you have some difficulty, even if you have some some chapters which are not uh, as good as the other chapters that you have done, try to make your weak section as much close to your strong section, not string. That's an error maybe. Your strong section. Most of the business schools have something called sectional cutoff, so therefore, uh, just make sure that you ensure that even if you don't score 90 percentile, you at least score uh, the bare minimum sectional cutoffs, which can take you at least to the interview room so that you can present your case in terms of the sectional cutoffs. uh, most of the time, if you are able to clear the three sectional cutoffs, you are very very close to an overall uh, total cutoff. For example, we have seen over the years that if you actually get above 92 percentile bare minimum in all the three sections in CAT, you easily cross over above 95 percentile overall. Okay. Now, is that a prediction? Again, please don't take me, by my words. All I am saying is that statistically that happens. Most of the time, if you're able to clear the bare minimum sectional cutoffs, you should be very, very close, maybe just a 1 percentile or 2 percentile below the overall cutoff. Because, some people will score very high but will miss one sectional cutoff, or some people will score very high in English but less in quant. Some people will score very high in quant, less in DI. So therefore, they average out. They will, get out of the race. Okay. On the other hand, if we are talking about all the people who cleared the minimum sectional cutoffs, they go very very close to the overall cutoff. So therefore, your first target should be to clear, to be have all the chapters as much ready to have the sectional cutoffs clear. Okay, the last week, the last 4 days, I don't recommend that you write too many mocks, okay, or exert too much pressure. Start unwinding in the last 4 days. It is important to be relaxed. It is important to be in your best form in the last 4 days. Be relaxed. You will need to be relaxed 1 day or 2 days before cat, and therefore very clearly you will need to be prepared to be relaxed on that, on those last few days. Okay, so in the subsequent sessions, we will be talking about the different types of cat papers that has come over the last few years. We will talk about cat 23, we'll talk about cat 22, we'll talk about cat 19, 18, 17 maybe. What are the learnings from them? Closure to the day of cat, we will also talk about the last minute jitters that can happen. uh, that should ensure that we are really really well prepared for cat. Okay, that's all from my side. I think Nirmal, if you can take over.
No, this is a great session. There was a question of percentile. I think one of us has already responded to that. That there are different percentile for different colleges. Hello, am I audible? Cool. So, we before we end this session, I would like to just say a few things that many people who are asking about the percentile. It is different for different colleges. For example, MDI Gurgaon may be 90 percentile and above. Same SP Jain may be 85 percentile and above. Whereas different school like IMT or IMI maybe have a 60 percentile, 70 percentile, and so on and so forth. Each B school will be having a different percentile for the cutoffs. Now, one of the pertinent question is, now most of the top B schools have opened up their applications. Where to apply now? There are two B schools which I am going to name now who would close the applications before the CAT exam, that is before 24th. So MDI Gurgaon is one of them, which is closing the applications on 22nd of November. And the history of MDI Gurgaon is like they would never reopen. So the chance, if you are waiting for the CAT to happen and then open, then MDI Gurgaon chance will be gone. So it's better to apply MDI Gurgaon. Same with SP Jain. SP Jain again is a similar in the similar category. They would not reopen, and they are also closing on the 22nd. Now, while MDI Gurgaon is closing on 22nd at 5 p.m. sharp, 5 p.m. SPJN is closing at 11:59. That is in the night, midnight. So it's better to apply to these B schools and wait for the CAT, wait for the CAT results, and then apply to the other B schools because these B schools, those B schools will remain open and also probably most likelihood will reopen even if they close. So that is something which many of the students has been asking, and this is the response to that. Apart from that, we are having a session with Dhruvajit sir once again on 25th, that is next Friday, same time, that is 7:30. And we will be talking more about the trends of the CAT question papers. Like last year, Dhruvajit sir, it was near to a disaster for many of the students. Many of the students got panicked because the expectations and the reality did not match. So we are going to talk about more on that next week. Till the time, we say goodbye and a happy weekend. And that's it for us. If you have any query, if you want us to address any particular or a specific topic or a problem, do let us know. We will try our best to cover that. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dhruv sir. Thank you, everyone.